The Pittsburgh Penguins have been one of the surprise stories of the early rounds of the playoffs, doing it with their third string goalie. Hunter Hodies of Locked On Penguins is here to talk about Louis Domingue and all things Pittsburgh Penguins next on the Locked On NHL podcast.
You're Locked On NHL, your daily podcast on the National Hockey League. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
And welcome back to the Locked On NHL podcast. So glad you could join us today. And thank you for making Locked On NHL your first listen every day. We are free and available on all platforms. Today's episode is brought to you by BetOnline. BetOnline has you covered this season with more props, odds, and lines than ever before. BetOnline, where the game starts. My pleasure to welcome back to the show the host of Locked On Penguins, Hunter Hodies. And Hunter, your team is one of the surprises of the playoffs. How many NHL fans knew who Louis Domingue was a week ago?
I think people knew who he was. I didn't think anyone thought they would win 2 playoff games, let alone one with him in the net. They've taken down Igor Shesterkin with Louis Domingue in the net twice. If anyone had bets on that before the series, just come forward right now. There's probably not going to be any, that's for sure. But what a story he has been. I know at times I definitely hold my breath when the Rangers come into the offensive zone because, they don't have Tristan Jarry back there. I would be much more comfortable if he was starting, or even Casey DeSmith. But, he's been giving them a chance in these 3 games. The overtime, he made some big saves. Evgeni Malkin was able to win it. I know they didn't win game 2. The Penguins still played well, but Domingue made some saves, kept them in it, especially after the first period, 1-1 going into the second. They were down 3-2 going into the third. Like yesterday, I know they coughed up a 4-1 lead, but they regrouped going into the third period. He made some really great saves when the game was tied, when the Rangers had not 1, not 2, but 3 power plays. I hope all Rangers fans can understand that when it comes to the officiating garbage that I keep seeing on my timeline. And the Penguins were able to take advantage of that, and Danton Heinen scores, make it 5-4. A little bit of a softie, I think, on Georgiev. But the big story was, he did enough to get the Penguins the win. And if they can win again on Monday, they have a stranglehold on them. And there's the potential, with a couple whispers out there with Tristan Jarry, that he might be back later on in this series. I poked around a little bit. I think they're hoping for game 6 or something like that. So there's a shot right there.
There you go. Let's talk about Louis Domingue. I mean, he's a journeyman goalie. He's been on 5 teams in the last 5 years. What is he doing so well? Where has this guy been all this time?
I really can't put my finger on it. I mean, his rebound control is definitely sporadic. I mean, he looks like he kind of swims in his net a little bit. And, that's expected for someone who's a fringe NHL goaltender. Mainly he's been an AHL goalie for the last couple of years. But again, Gil, he's giving them a shot, he's giving them a shot to win these games, making these timely saves. When the Rangers had those 3 power plays in the third period, he didn't give an inch. I know the Penguins did a much better job killing off those penalties than they did in the previous 2 games, but you still need your goalie to make the saves. And if he doesn't make a save on any of those 3 opportunities, the Penguins are probably down in the series right now, and they face a really big must-win on Monday to not go behind 3-1. Instead, it's the other way around. The Rangers now face a must-win game in Pittsburgh on the road to make sure they don't go down 3-1 to a journeyman goaltender. And, I definitely think he's playing confident right now. And, the fans were really behind him, with the Lou chants. I mean, they've been doing all those kind of chants when the Steelers are in town with Heath Miller and Freiermuth and all this stuff. So these are all the same people that go to those games. But, the team is rallied around him. They played great defense in front of them. Those last 9 minutes yesterday, peak Mike Sullivan hockey. He didn't really face any shots after Danton Heinen got the lead. And if the Penguins can play a similar structure those last 9 minutes on for a full 60-minute effort or close to it on Monday, they can 100% take this series and go up 3-1 and really put a stranglehold on a Rangers team that doesn't have a lot of playoff experience, to say the least. So I can't be, what's the word I'm looking for? I mean, I honestly, he's definitely given up some bad goals, but I'm really not too mad about that right now because they're up 2-1 in the series. I never thought that was going to be the case, even when Casey DeSmith was starting. I really had no expectations. I picked them to lose this series. I'm still maybe kind of sticking with that to maybe go against. I'm very superstitious, but it's been a very pleasant surprise with how this has gone.
Everyone talks about your Crosbys and your Malkins and your Letangs, but Game 3, 2 goals for Jeff Carter, 2 goals and an assist for Evan Rodriguez, 3 assists for Mike Matheson. Some of these depth guys are really getting the job done.
Absolutely. And, Evan Rodriguez, we saw a glimpse of him coming back a little bit. Game 82 against the Blue Jackets, gets a goal, some really good rips to the net. And in this one, you saw that beautiful shot on display. Shesterkin really had no chance on those goals. When he is playing at that level, I think he's probably the best team in any of these teams' bottom sixes. I will die on the hill, especially with what we saw in the first half of the regular season. Jeff Carter, I know he did have a good game, though he has been struggling a lot here down the stretch. He's just, he's a lot older now. His underlying numbers have tanked. But if you are going to get contributions from him on the score sheet, that's big. This team, I said this on my podcast, you cannot be a one-line team and win in the playoffs. It was only the Gensel, Crosby, Russ line that was burying you. You need other players to step up. Heck, you said it, Brock McGinn, he gets his first goal of the Stanley Cup playoffs. I mean, those are 3 players right there. And I'll throw Danton Heinen in, who I already said he got the game winner. 4 players right there that had goose eggs for the first 2 games of the season, finally making their mark. If that can continue and the Penguins get, decent goaltending and they can also potentially beat Shesterkin and maybe, I wouldn't say get inside his head, but have him play not as good as he did during the regular season, the Penguins can win this series. It's there for the taking right now. It's all a matter of, are they going to go out there and get it and, put this a young Rangers team on the ropes going back to Madison Square Garden.
You talked a little bit about the Penguins defense, slowing down a fast, explosive team like the Rangers. What have they done so well to keep guys like Kreider and Strome and Zibanejad off the board?
I think honestly, the Penguins, they've had the puck, I think, most of the time. I mean, again, like those last 9 minutes yesterday, the Rangers really did not have any sustained zone time. They pulled their goalie with 2:24 left, drew up a play, 10 seconds later, empty net goal. The Penguins were not getting any quarter. That is peak Mike Sullivan Penguins hockey. It's stuff we saw in 2016. It's stuff we saw in 2017. That is the kind of blueprint that they need to play with when they get a lead. I don't need to see them turtle and all this other stuff, but they're also getting the puck below the red line behind the net, and they're cycling and they're relentlessly forechecking and they're getting the puck back to the point and they're getting traffic in front of Shesterkin, and that's really messing up the Rangers' rhythm. New York, they had a lot of odd man opportunities against this team in the regular season. That was one of my big things going into the series. They cannot trade chances like that. They can't get hurt in the transition game because that's where the Rangers really hurt their opposition. Through 3 games, the Penguins, I think, have done a really nice job of that. They've slowed down Mika Zibanejad, which is definitely, I think, surprising. He's obviously one of their best players. Kreider is going to get his goals. He's been, I think, playing all right. Panarin got his first. You're not going to keep a guy like that off the score sheet for long. Adam Fox has a goal. But, there are other players. Some of these other players, they've been really able to, midgetate them the best they can. And, it's all a matter of, can the Penguins keep up this style of play as the series has gone on? I think, if they're able to get Brian Dumoulin back, that's going to be a big boost because, for as good as Mike Matheson has been this year, and I know he had 3 assists in that game on Saturday, he doesn't work on the top pairing with Kris Letang. They're too chaotic together, too similar like players. Tanger needs Brian Dumoulin on that pairing, to clean up if he ever makes a mistake or something like that, or, just because he's a good stay-at-home shutdown defenseman. Matheson is not that. He wants the puck all the time. It's the reason why he's been so good on a second or third pairing role. And the Penguins really have no other option right now because they're not going to break up any of the other pairings. So, they need Brian Dumoulin back if they really want to keep up this momentum and continue to stifle the Rangers' attack outside of, like a period or 2 during these games.
Hunter, why don't you tell our viewers and our listeners where they could find the podcast and where they could find you on social media?
Yeah, so you can find the Locked On Penguins podcast wherever you find your podcasts, Apple, Spotify, YouTube. You can follow me on Twitter, Hunter Hodies, the show's Twitter, LO_Penguins. And, it's going to be an exciting second half of the series here. It's been a lot of fun. Outside, honestly, of the officiating storyline, which has really been one-sided, I think, it's been a lot of fun to watch these two teams go at it because there's so much talent on both sides. These two teams haven't played in the playoffs in 6 years. It's a series I was really looking forward to, and it's definitely delivered so far.
Living up to the hype for a change. So that's a good thing. Hunter Hodies, always a pleasure. Thanks for joining us today.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me.
And today's episode is brought to you by Built Bar. Summer is coming, and with summer, you're going to need some food on the go. Built Bars are the perfect snack to take with you on family vacation. Throw them in your bags, in your kids' backpacks. Make sure everyone has a bar so you are fueled for your summer adventures. The best part about Built Bars, they're healthy and delicious. No more sacrificing delicious food for health. With Built Bar, you can have both. And it's easy. All you have to do is go to Built.com and order now. All Built Bars and Puffs are covered in 100% real chocolate. That means with Built Bar, you can eat healthy and actually enjoy doing it. Have you tried the Built Puffs yet? We're going crazy for Puffs, and they come in crazy flavors like banana cream pie and even churro. Who doesn't want a protein bar that tastes like a churro? And they're only 140 calories. Most Built Bars contain just 130 calories, only 4 grams of sugar and 4 net carbs, but they pack 17 grams of protein. Compare that to a candy bar, which usually has around 240 calories, 30 grams of sugar, and dozens of net carbs. Go to Built.com right now. Use the promo code LOCKED15 for 15% off your order. That's promo code LOCKED15 for 15% off at Built.com.